train here at the HGC Western Clash as we prepare for the rematch of Zealots versus Tempo Storm. I'm Gilly Weed, your host, here with Caldor, Vandy, and Michael Udall. Caldor, Zealots are fresh off that win, that victory, that confident victory over Fnatic.
Yeah, they felt really good because they had now a very short series, called it a bit of a warm-up, and of course they didn't go as much energy into a 3-0 than they would into a 3-2 win, for example. So they feel they're fresh and they're ready for the next series.
And Vandy, we just talked to Zarmany. He talked about how he's just taking each series at a time. Do you see that as a benefit for Zealots?
I absolutely do. It means that you're just focusing at the game on hand. You're going to try, play your best, and I'm just really excited to see how the series plays out.
I'm very interested in what kind of Tempo Storm we see. Do you feel like we're going to have more of the team fighting focus versus Zealots, or do you think we're going to see more of the macro-intensive focus from Tempo Storm, Mike?
I mean, I think we're going to see something different, 100%. I feel like it'll probably be more team fight oriented. I feel like Tempo as a team, they'll think they're the better mechanical players, which I would say I feel like, you know, they would be just slightly above Zealots in my book. And I think they're going to come out and basically say that we're the better mechanical team. Yes, our macro is good. We know you have good macro, but that's where we're really going to shine and beat you.
Well, as we get ready to narrow down to the top two teams, as that's what this match figures out, we gotta take a look at the prize pool. We've got the Western Clash trophy, which we've been showing all weekend long. There's also the first place prize, which is $30,000 out of the $100,000 total prize pool. But Caldor, there is even more riding on a victory here when we look at the region who wins.
Exactly, it's all about which region gets that extra slot, and that's also what Zealots are fighting for now. They already said, we're not quite sure if we can take down Dignitas, but we're going to do our best to at least win against Tempo Storm so that it's already secured that Europe has the extra slot.
Oh, I see. For there, just making sure, absolute certainty, because there's a lot of European teams who are in contention for that spot.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm very, very happy that NA is doing well. But from a European perspective, it would be a little bit funny if at the first event when NA does well, immediately a victory comes in and they claim that for the first time that it exists, that extra spot for the region.
You say funny, yeah. I say pretty cool.
I say awesome.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah.
I'd be pretty excited too.
Yeah, let's take a look.
So I was trying to go for the little bias, and you three immediately took it way too far.
That's what happens when you get up here at the desk. Don't worry, we're all serious mode today. Hashtag no bias. Let's look at the bracket and see where we have come from, because it's been 3 days of Western Clash fun, NA versus EU, for so long throughout the weekend, though at the end of yesterday is where EU pulled ahead, taking out every remaining North American team except Tempo Storm, who is now fighting for their lives versus Zealots. Earlier today, we saw them play versus Team Dignitas, and they had a rough go of it, Vandy.
They absolutely did. We saw Tempo Storm and we're like, wow, this is great. They're coming in with that confidence. We love to see this draft. They're playing to, you know, something that's close to their heart. They're playing Tempo Storm style, I believe Mike, you were saying. And then they started getting dominated. Then we're like, oh, hang on here. This is looking bad, real bad.
Well, we'll see if they can redeem themselves, but it's time now for the lower bracket finals match. So let's introduce our teams. First up, the only team besides KSV Black themselves to be able to defeat the current roster of Team Dignitas. They are Team Zealots.
I'm super excited. I mean, our plan wasn't even coming to this tournament because our plans were more in the future to become better. So like everything is right now a bonus. Like everything we do, it's just perfect.
Zealots really taking this game in a very convincing fashion.
Yeah, no way to be able to stop that. Infinite Archon alone.
I think we are doing better and better over time. We will not let them get an easy win to us.
They will end up sending home Team 12.
I feel confident of beating Tempo Storm again. I think we can this time show even closer games and maybe take a map or take the entire game.
Give a cheer for Team Zealots! Since the Zealots were knocked to the lower bracket in the first round of this event by Tempo Storm, they have been just enjoying themselves, taking it one match at a time, playing their style, playing their drafts, and now have made it here to the top 3. Caldor, they may not have believed during league play that they could make it here, make it to the Western Clash. Do you think they believe that they could take it and go all the way?
Oh yeah, at least Mopsio does, and he's currently really the soul of the team. You can tell how he moves out, and he's just like all energy, which is really fun because he's of course one of the Polish players on the lineup, and here in Katowice that's a bit of a home advantage, and he enjoys every single second of it.
Vandy, how far do you believe Zealots can go?
I believe they can go all the way now. This is one of their good days. That coin toss, they've like prayed to whatever RNG gods they need to. They don't need the RNG. That's how well they're playing.
Michael Udall, what is it about this team that has allowed them not only to defeat Fnatic and Team Dignitas through league play, but now to continue forward and make it to the top 3 of this event, even as the number 4 seed coming out of Europe?
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like ADRD is that X factor. I mean, everyone calls him the mad scientist for a reason, right? I feel like his drafting, with Zealots, they are always in a position where they can win, right? Whereas most teams, I would say, have a couple drafts where, okay, it's really hard to win. And I feel like Zealots always puts them in a position where, you know, like we were saying, if that RNG gods is in their favor, right? If they flip the coin, they get heads and they're playing really well that day, their drafts will always give them that opportunity to win.
Caldor, do you agree? You've been casting them all season long.
Yeah, I definitely do. The thing with them is the consistency was an issue.
Right.
And as the tournament continues, they get more and more consistent. And it was also shown in the drafts against Fnatic. I think we have to throw a bit of a caveat in. Fnatic has stated after the loss right away that they're not really unhappy with their performance because they feel with a sub-lane, new shot caller, a top 4 positioning is really good for them. And one of the problems they had is that Sonic, as well as he played and as great as he fit into the team, his hero pool on the competitive level is still a bit limited. And that really was a problem in the drafting against Zealots, which ADRD absolutely exploited.
All right, well, the Zealots opponents now will be a team with huge hero pools, so let's introduce them. The sole remaining North American hope, they are Tempo Storm.
We are very unpredictable. You know, sometimes I like to joke that even we don't know where we're going to be playing. So, you know, if we don't know, they definitely won't know. So I think they might be a little bit nervous about that.
As my F goes in, and this is going to be game number 2 as we have Tempo Storm taking Fnatic down.
We didn't quite manage to win the winners finals the first time around, but we're going to take down this series and then we're going to be back. We'll do it again. We're going to face Dig again.
Our prerogative is to win, and yeah, we definitely got to keep focused and keep our mentality strong. I think we're ready to prove ourselves.
Please join me in welcoming to the stage Tempo Storm. The number 1 seed out of North America. This is a super team of long-standing personalities that's been designed to perform internationally. But Caldor, the pressure is on for Tempo. It has been a long time since a North American team has made it as far as they have at this tournament.
Yeah, so I don't even know if the pressure is there. They want to win. I feel they are the ones who really put the pressures on themselves, since so far North America has to be very happy how the number 1 seed performed. I loved also the camera angle that we just saw a second ago. It really felt like Kettle was standing right behind the trophy and just wanted to grab it. So they're not there yet, but they definitely have the tools at least to go up to the grand final, to go through Zealots and then maybe face Dignitas again. But of course they have to prove it now in this series.
Oh yes, Tempo, even Dignitas said that they have what it takes to win this, or at least to make it to the grand finals and get that revenge. But Vandy, coming from an ANZ region, you can probably see a lot of similarities between Tempo and Nomia. When Nomia made it to the top 8 of the mid-season brawl, finally, after a long time, being able to represent your region and wanting to take that further.
Absolutely can, and that's why I am rooting for them. I know those fields all too well. I was watching the clashes. Every time Nomia, Darksided, they've gone internationally, you can't help but root. But this time it's closer than ever before, and that's what makes it so exciting. And that's why I'm just gonna hope that Tempo Storm, they've regrouped from this one and they're in a positive headspace.
Well, Michael Udall, we've seen a lot of different drafting, and we hear, even in the video, about the different drafts that Tempo Storm can offer. The adjustments came in by the third game versus Team Dignitas. Would you like to see Tempo Storm try out some of that tempo flair at the beginning of the series versus Zealots again, or do you want them to keep continuing with the adjustments they made toward the later stages of their series versus Dig?
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like they're going to have adjustments already prepared for Zealots, right? We just watched Zealots play a match, right? So I'm sure Tempo Storm was sitting there in the crowd watching as well, saying, okay, this is something where we could exploit this, right? We could go into this kind of a draft. So I really much expect that first game Tempo to have something prepared. So I'm excited for it.
Do you actually think that they got anything out of that series for the reasons mentioned with the restrictions that Fnatic had to the drafting? Because Sonic only playing a couple of heroes, that could be a little bit deceptive, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's called like a, a positive negative, where basically it's like, you watch it.
False negative.
Yeah, false negative. Yeah, thank you. I knew it was something in there. So basically, that you get a lot of false negatives, right? Watching that. It's a good point. But I think, for me, when I was watching, I think Abathur is going to be a big thing that Tempo is either going to, fan is superb on that hero, either ban, take away. Because I feel like when they let ADR play that hero, it's very scary.
Yeah, ADRD, you can kind of get where he wants to go with this draft, but you never quite know for sure, especially with that Maiev coming out. But as always, drafts start with the battleground at hand. This is a best of 5 as we head to the battleground pool. Let's see what the teams are going to ban against each other. A lot of Sky Temple bans versus Zealots. Zealots also showed a great Volskaya Foundry earlier on. Zealots take away Tempo Storm's Dragonshire.
Yeah, that's probably a smart thing to do. It's one of their strongest maps, sitting on a 6-0 record. And it's just going to set them up really well. Tempo Storm, though, they're also offering, they want to take away Battlefield of Eternity.
Volskaya being picked as the first one, and as Battlefield of Eternity is banned out, that leaves Sky Temple open, which is the strongest map for Zealots. And that's actually really surprising, because I just talked this morning with Mobscope, and he also said that he doesn't really expect them to be able to play Sky Temple because it did so well in the regular season on the map that he just feels everybody's going to ban it out against them.
Didn't Tempo Storm play versus Zealots and beat them? Granted, this is a whole different Zealots. It's a whole different ball game. This is 2 days later in the tournament, but I do believe that Tempo Storm feels okay on Sky. I've seen them get some wins there, and I've seen them play the Kerrigan Maltheo, and I think they also beat Zealots on Sky.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like Tempo as a team performs well on Sky, because that map, is half macro, half team fight, right? And I feel like that is really where Tempo shines, because they are good at macro and team fighting. But I am really focused on this Volskaya map. I am curious to see if Tempo takes a book out of Fnatic, banning that Taskar and Medivh. When Fnatic came into this, they had a distinct plan, and they had that plan for a reason. Granted, I don't think Tempo has been screaming Zealots as much. I mean, they live in completely different regions, but I think that's something they need to respect, the Taskar and the Medivh.
I actually think they're way more worried about the Tyrael Blaze.
Yeah.
Okay,
because their setup was played by Dignitas 3 times with huge success, and then we saw it also played in the series that we just saw between Fnatic and Zealots, and it just wrecked because of all the defensive tools that you have with it.
But also, Tracer. And Zealots has been a team that's shown that they don't mind playing Tracer without the Malfurion. That was the consistent pairing.
And also, I mean, I'm so glad that you guys brought that up, because I feel like the Tracer, the Tyrael, and the Blaze, just the way that we see Zealots prioritizing those heroes in particular, it's a lot of what their strategies revolve around.
I mean, I'm already happy with what we're seeing here. So Tempo Storm takes Tyrael away. That leaves Zealots no chance to go for Blaze and Tyrael. The ban against Chris also with the Tracer ban makes a lot of sense here from their perspective. Of course, Maiev is still being banned out here, but the opening in the draft for Tempo Storm is now much more solid than what they showed against Dignitas in the previous series, and really caters to what Michael already talked about. They took the time off that they had now to talk through the draft and say, okay, what do we need to change for this?
Well, and not only what do we need to change, but what did Zealots shine on? I mean, Calder, you're the one that brought it up, that Tyrael Blaze. Zealots, 3 games in a row, had so much success with it, right? And I like that Tempo, is respecting that, saying, I feel like a lot of the, game ones, people kind of come out and, okay, we're going to play our best game, or our best draft, you play your best draft, and we'll see which one wins. But, Tempo recognizing, you know what, we don't want to play against their best draft, right? Their Tyrael Blaze is a very scary composition that we're just not even going to let them have. And as the time ticks down, the Blaze Stukov coming out for Zealots, I think it's so interesting seeing how this Stukov has just shot up in priority for Zealots.
I think it's also very much the map dependency. We see on Volskaya Foundry, there's a clear way that they like to play with that Stukov now. Any chance that you're trying to go into the activated control points, you've got Shad on that Stukov, ready to block your escape, ready to then use the Lurking Arm to help with the siege potential, get that poke going, and also just pairing so nicely with anyone that Blaze Jet Propulsion's into.
You know who Zealots remind me of? All of a sudden, Roll20 last year. They have very specific picks for each person, and because of that, and how well they synergize together, it is almost impossible to outdraft them.
Yeah, and they basically don't care what the meta is, that they're going to pick their picks.
Right.
So 1-2, you guys are all picking other picks, doesn't matter. We're picking our Stukov, right? And I like that. That's confidence. That's playing to their strengths, playing to their style, which I love. And on the side of Tempo Storm, they pick up those two very meta picks of Genji and Malfurion. I mean, they're meta for a reason. Those are very strong heroes, and I think there are major comforts for Tempo Storm.
The only thing that I could throw in with the priority that they have for Stukov is that they mentioned, I heard it in an interview from Chat, where he talked about how if heroes are banned out against them, supports, they are also always able to go into Stukov instead. We don't know what the draft's going to look like yet, but I would have maybe liked them to pick Stukov later on and maybe force a ban against the support. Probably would have the ban against Abathur anyways by Tempo Storm. You pointed out the reasons why earlier. But then at least Tempo Storm is in that situation where they have to ask themselves, okay, do we ban Abathur now or do we go into Uther? And there's always the option you have a little bit more flexibility than later on.
Yep, that's a good point. And the Garrosh for Zealots, I mean, that's the big pick. Mopsio, really strong on that hero. I like this pick. I mean, it's a really strong hero, especially to counter the dive, right? It looks like Tempo does have that Tyrael and that Genji. And the reason Garrosh is so strong against that dive is you can get a big taunt, right? They're all coming in, you just taunt, stop their Sanctification, put it on a 10-second cooldown, as well as the Grave Main for the PvE pressure.
We've often seen Zealots as well. Anytime that they don't get that Tyrael, they're happy to bring out the Garrosh. And like you said, that Warlord's challenge is so good at devastating. It's also very smart in response to what Tempo Storm are throwing at them. It's still, I mean, we said with Zealots, they have the heroes that they like to pick, and yeah, they don't mind what map it's on, but then also they're looking to actively counterpick as well with the pool that they've got available.
Now, let's not forget that Fnatic banned out Medivh for a reason against Zealots. So we're still looking for ADRD's hero, and he has a variety of picks that he can go for. He's usually showing only 2-3, but he has a lot of them, and Medivh would be a good option that they could utilize now if they want to put more of a focus onto Greymane himself, because that's a lot of survivability that Greymane all of a sudden has with Bunker, with his shields through Medivh, and then of course also Stukov.
I mean, the coolest, like one of the coolest things for me about this tournament, okay, the Medivh you were talking about, Kaldor, but what I was saying is the tank diversity. I feel like everyone just has their flavor, right? Tempo is all up on that Arthas train right now. Fnatic was like, Anubrak, the Beetle is for us. You know, and then on Zealots, we have Garrosh. I just love how many tanks are being played, and they all are so powerful in those different kinds of compositions. I mean, it's just cool. Because most internationals, it's, okay, who's got ETC, who's got Muradin, and then who's got the, you know, not as strong of tank.
Makes me sorry for Chen.
Someday.
It's true.
Someday the panda will return, big panda. Mike, I wanted to ask you about that though, because we've seen Tempo Storm now heavily prioritize this Arthas. Did not see Caterpillar play Arthas really throughout all of part one. What is it that you feel is important to Caterpillar, and why Tempo is so heavily prioritizing that pick?
I mean, I think it's the Blaze factor. I mean, I feel like it has to be something where he thinks Arthas is really strong into Blaze. I mean, I think the slow is very nice, as well as in this current composition, Greymane. I mean, Arthas is one of the best counters to Greymane. Basically, when he jumps in, you have that slow on the attack speed and the movement. So that's why I like the Arthas pick right here. I mean, they have been preferencing a lot. I think it's a Blaze counter in their eyes, right? Like, I don't know if I believe in that, but I feel like every single time they've picked Arthas, it's been against the Blaze.
Well, is it the Blaze counter in this game then?
Dude, I just think the Medivh's too good. I'm going to give it to Zealots game one, which hurts my heart, man. Oh, NA.
Your extra slot is writing on the outcome here.
Hey, can I swap that? You're so right. I believe Tempo.
Yep, they swapped it. And now it's set in stone. Kaldor and Pure Pressure. Vandy, please, your prediction.
Now I don't feel so bad voting for Zealots. I know we were talking about how I'm like, let's stick with the underdog, woo, minor agents. But honestly, just seeing the way Zealots have played, I feel like they got what they want out of this draft, and I'm really worried about that Medivh, the unknown factor going into that. So for that one, I just want to see. I'm happy to be proven wrong, however.
I feel for Tempo Storm, this is a surprisingly cookie cutter draft that they have right now, where usually they have this bit of an X factor or heavy melee style, and so I feel it's a little bit too normal. I like what Zealots have. I agree they got exactly what they wanted, and I'm saying the Zealots take the first one, especially after their impressive performance yesterday and today.
Well, we'll make a Zealot sandwich then, as I'm going to put my vote in the Tempo Storm basket. I believe that this strong roster of players is able to overcome whatever difficulties was versus Team Dignitas and maintain that mentality, and they get a lot of very powerful picks in their draft. But now it's time to see the chat vote. 75% of you. Hello, good morning, North America.
Welcome. Some of us woke up.
Yeah, so happy to see you waking up. Let's go to the caster desk for the first game of the lower bracket finals.
Welcome in here, Jay Howe, joining alongside Dreadnought. Dreadnought, Tempo Storm had a rough start to the day. Zealots picking up some steam. Does Tempo Storm have what it takes to crack the riddle of ADRD?
You know, I feel like it's going to be a tall tale. You know, North America's waking up, though, so maybe North American players here are going to be waking up. I'm optimistic, Jay Howe.
I'm optimistic, too, but their opposition will be on the left in blue. It's going to be Zarmany on Blaze, Shad on Stukov, Chris on Greymane, and oh, by the way, 2 Polish players here, Mopsio on Garage, ADRD on Medivh. Make some noise for Zealots.
And in the red for North America's #1 seed is Tempo Storm. We're going to have Caterpillar playing Tyrael, June on Malfurion, Fan playing Genji, Tychus played by Psalm, and Arthas is going to be played by Glorong.
Dude, one thing I'm already looking forward to is this change up in Mopsio. He's going body check. He's looking to body somebody on the front line. A little bit of change up that we see. You know, we kind of see a little bit into Groundbreaker. The old toss isn't quite there anymore since we've got a few changes, but we're getting body check. Really control that front line. Allow Blaze and team to get on that front line. Allow Greymane to go in. And you can see getting that big charge, that big stun already is that of Zealots as they start the fight here, bringing it to Tempo Storm.
And we saw the Blaze pick up 4 Zealots in this draft, and they put on a clinic. You know, I complimented his army on how to be able to put, on how he was playing the Blaze in last year's. Hold up, though. Nice portal and cutoff in the rotation. Nobody's going to get too aggressive there. And it's such a good counter momentum tool, and that's something that I feel like is really going to be difficult for Tempo Storm to handle in this game, but they do have this Tyrael on their side to be able to deal with that, right? The trade-off a little bit in favor of the bunker when it comes to the cooldown, but generally speaking, it's going to be a nice answer for Tempo Storm. They just need to rely. They're going to have, and not even rely on, they have to have a lot of teamwork and synergy, and it felt like that was something maybe not on display during their first series here today.
I think they definitely got to clean that up, and when you look at the fact that if Blaze gets in, gets the stun, you get Garrosh kind of getting that taunt, getting a whole lot going in there. You've got a lurking arm underneath you. That sanctification's not going to be there. I think a lot of big plays are going to have to happen more on the back line when it comes to Tychus, when it comes to Malfurion, focusing that Psalm and the priority for June to really try and make plays and save a lot of his team.
And when we watched Zealots in their last series play Volskaya Foundry, they did amazing jobs of using the conveyor belts, you know, cycling around the objectives. And I feel like that's something that Tempo Storm has to be overly fearful of. Not only because it was well done in the series before, because they also have a Medivh here. Zealots find Glorong down on bottom. The Howling Blast is there, but a lot of damage out. First blood here for Zealots.
It's just way too much. Shad is kind of discovered. The analyst talked about having the comfort heroes, finding, hey, we're playing this no matter what. And right now, Stukov seems to be the new hotness here for Zealots as they have made many plays over the last few days with that.
He's such an interesting support because I can't help but feel like he is one of the best as long as he is the one initiating. That's a very weird feeling from a support angle because more often than not, you love to be the one reacting or following up to something. But Shad in particular, but just the hero, Stukov, is very, very effective as long as you are the ones opening up to the fight. And Zealots really just doesn't ask too many questions when it comes to these skirmishes. They are very easily moving forward, using the Medivh portal, the Garrosh, and even some of the other heroes in other comps that they have ran there with the Stukov. They just know how to open up and finish out a fight before it even starts here, really.
We'll see how they open it up, and I think a big part of that, as we've seen from Garrosh and Mopsio, you know, when you and I have had a chance to talk to Mopsio over the last few days, he's like, look, I really like this hero, ADRD. He's the one drafting. He's not letting me play it, but I think I'm starting to change his mind. I think he's changing a lot of people's minds this weekend. But an interesting pickup for me, Thirst for Battle, getting the extra cooldown reduction on his Bloodthirst, getting that heal, that self-sustain on the front line. He's using that, but that requires you to auto-attack, and auto-attacking with an Arthas, slowing down your auto-attacks. We'll see how effective that can be if these team fights do break out and the long sustain is a thing.
But he's so passionate about that talent that he's upset when he has to play the hero and not pick it up. That's what he was admitting to us in the morning. He's like, when ADRD picks Garrosh, and he goes, you know I can't take this talent, right? And he's like, well, I don't know if I necessarily want to play it. But Mopsio, he's going to still be on the Garrosh here with the favorite build. Tempo Storm managed to accumulate 31% for themselves, but they do have Genji and Arthas worried about that side soak as Zealots posture up now over the objective.
Yeah, they got on there, and you could see June, he's trying to put a lot of the roots down in those Medivh portal areas. Good follow-up, good stun combo there by Mopsio. But Dread, you and I, we've seen a lot of development around the Medivh-style play to have some type of displacement, some way to disrupt those portals. But wait a minute, we've got a charge in here, a root going down, but the silence in return.
Look at that portal. It's going to be immediate tap. Zealots take the portal once more, move up. Zarmany's going to try and threaten off Cattle, but nobody's too fearful yet. Arthas still down on bottom, but that's the fastest transition, to that middle lane because the conveyor belt moving upwards, so that's a safe lane to get that side soak. Greymane backing out towards top, worried about the experience up there, is going to allow Tempo Storm to really gain a pretty big advantage over the objective. That's something that I feel like Zealots here is playing this into the hand of Tempo Storm a bit more than I expected over the first objective.
I mean, I think when you can look at that, maybe they're looking a little bit more long-term. Medivh picked up Master's Touch. You get that completed, gives you that late-game power punch, get those 30 stacks, and then don't lose him. He's sitting at 7 now. Chris also going to Wizened Duelist to maybe stack up for the late game. But I think that their composition is based around doing a lot of that as Cattle got put in, but the Eldruin's out is going to save him for now.
Mobsio hitting a huge ground break. They're knocking up 3 members of Tempo Storm. 45% the contesting is there. Into the fray, flip onto Zarmany, but no initiation. Jet propulsion, the flip on Glarong, but he's doing just fine. Fan goes in with the Swift Strike, but no kill or reset yet to be gained.
The portal out. Mobsio, he's like, wait a minute, I'm actually cool. Let me just stay in here a little bit longer. I'll dip out as needed. I'm going to come back in. I'm going to dance around these portals. I'm getting poked. But Medivh, ADRD, I know you got my back.
Tempo Storm is very effectively winning this fight, and without the tap, remember, this is the second initiation attempt. Majority of the members of Zealots do not have the chance to get the tap and reinitiate. That leads Protector #1 here for Tempo Storm. Looking to siege up on mid, try and find a way to be able to get this fort for themselves.
I think that when we look at the Zealots, they got the early pick, but with this composition, they weren't able to get a lot done with it. A lot of it does revolve around these early protectors, but Zealots has done a really good job. They soaked in the meantime, didn't give up a whole lot. Even if you give up structures here, the duration that first control point took, you're not necessarily going to suffer that level 10 deficit. It didn't quite finish that tower there on the way out. That's a nice chunk of experience kind of left there.
But it's going to be unreserved. Oh, yeah.
The snipe.
They're going to get it as they walk away here. Malfurion's looking to join up as Zealots just kind of playing the chase the protector game for now. But I think you brought up a great point. It's, really all this is going to be, because there has been no kill potential, not a heavy amount of siege from Tempo Storm. It's just who's winning the experience game. Blaze has done well in dealing with Arthas onto the side lane. No surprise, Blaze in a solo lane doing well. But it's just showing that there's really not that early snowball fear that we've heard so much of since the adjustments to Volskaya.
You know, one of the fun things, I don't play a lot of Medivh. He's a very complex hero, and I think it takes a pretty good team to make it work, which is why Zealots is doing so well. But I must say that if I am relying on hitting heroes to make sure I have a questing talent, and I'm Medivh, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, look, I got Master's Touch, and you are a large hitbox. You cannot kill me. Dude, Medivh's sitting on 29 stacks already. That Master's Touch is all but complete at this point.
Yeah, I feel like there's no chance that we're going to see that immediate death from ADRD before the Master's Touch. ADRD does scout that out, but no attempt to get an invade. We do see the polybomb picked up for ADRD rather than the leyline steal. This has been something we've seen from them multiple times. It really does feel like it caters to their all-in pick playstyle that Zealots really has kind of unleashed here at the Western Clash.
So far, so good on all fronts here for Zealots on day #2, but they find themselves a little bit behind in terms of what seems to be pacing here as Tempo Storm has had some control. Medivh did just finish his Master's Touch, and we see Cattle going in. There's the taunt, but where's the follow-up, Dread?
A lot of armor is going to be able to keep him up. Nice force of will coming out from, ADRD. I was surprised at the transition or rotation from Zarmany that was so late. There's the portal to be able to join in. Nice route, forcing out the bunker here. Massive Shove's going to push Psalm back. And that looks like it's enough for both teams. Going to say that this is enough out of the skirmish. But the fact that Zarmany was willing to commit to that rotation that late in that opener there, because Tempo Storm very much had a rotational advantage onto that skirmish, but good disengage. That's the beauty of Medivh.
It's the Medivh and then also the bunker. And we looked at that too. We looked at the combo, and you think about this. Polybomb's not on a very long cooldown. It's just sitting at 40 seconds. Taunt, 50 seconds. Bunker, 40 seconds. So we have high impact plays on pretty short cooldowns, and you can actually go down the list. Massive Shove, 20 seconds. So you have a lot of defensive cooldowns, a lot of offensive setup in the mix here for Zealots.
And on contrast, on the other side, Sanctification in 100 seconds. And that has been a lot of my talking points when looking at the Sanctification bunker, not only the interactions together, but also when they're synergized onto the same team. It's going to force Tempo Storms to be nearly flawless with the use of that cooldown, because if the default kit or the heroics are so much shorter on your opponent's side of the table, it just I mean, when you see Tyrael comps, you often go, do I have Sanks? Because if the answer is no, and you don't have Holy Ground, it typically means you aren't fighting.
Here's the polybomb. There's the setup into the taunt, into the lurking arm. The support of Cattle's going to be here, but the sanctification is late here, Dread. Zarmany looking to do a little bit more.
Psalm is completely split there. Twilight Dream's going to be used to try and keep him alive. The silence seems as if there's enough eyes in the dark. Chris goes for the throw, but it is not enough to get the kill. Very well done, having June there to get the peel for Psalm.
God, Chris had done that. Things of legend. Arthas just able to get out of there as Glaurung, hoping that silence does not slow him in Dread. When we look at 13, we've seen Shad already make some big plays. If he can get that weighted pustule, activate that while you're in that lurking arm, you are now rooted, which is a terrible place to be. And I think Shad, if he had another 10, 15 seconds to get 13 there, that would be one dead Glaurung.
Yeah, it very much would be. And we already saw Cattle struggle to make sure he was able to, get off of that lurking arm to make sure the sanctification comes in. And so with that 13 talent tier picked up, it's only going to make it that much harder because you are going to be the one who initiates. What I was talking about with Stukov, he loves to be the one to open. Mopsio, it's going to take a lot of damage here, gets a force of will, but not going to commit to the portal. Also, Cattle committing to the Holy Ground at 13.
Yeah, I think that's one way they got to try and initiate, try and isolate some of these players. There's the polybomb going out. Mopsio not able to get the lockdown. Again, short cooldown, not the worst thing in the world to try and initiate. It's kind of like these control points are long. They are hefty. Cattle, nice cleanse there from June. But make sure there's no danger.
But that's a major cooldown going to be used. The fact that we already see the cleanse used just to save the Tyrael itself. So it's very realistic that we see Zealots trying to get overly aggressive here. Not only because the 13 there and this power spike with Stukov, but and also that of Medivh. Fan goes in, poking around.
Yeah, Fan's finally made his way up to the fight. 13 is here. We're going to have the fight going out as Mopsio trying to control the front line. Glaurung and team are going in. Here comes the Dragon Blade.
Twilight Dream is used before they have any opportunity to respond. Fan is getting reset one. Sanctification used. Mopsio gets a force of will, and he will be able to make it out here. 57% onto that Protector, but now Tempo Storm claiming some percentage for themselves.
They claim that percentage, and Bunker had just gone down, but the blow-up happened right on time for Tempo Storm. Now we have some contention here over the
Shad with that root, the lurking arm double kill. That is Zealots not accepting the fact that Tempo Storm trying to bite off more than they could chew, and Shad clutches it out. That was so very well done to capitalize it. I mean, at this point in time, that is such a great adjustment here for Zealots to not give up. They realize that you're getting way too much out of this situation. And there's zero answer. Honestly, you cannot stop that. Once Shad opens up, it's like, well, we're dead, boys.
Post 13, Stukov is a terrible thing to deal with.
Disgusting.
Right before we actually saw that, we could see Malfurion on the control point was hearthing back to make sure and get mana, kind of rejuvenate for things. He was not there. There were no heals, nothing to save that. So, as you said, Tempo Storm, it feels like they tried to do a little bit too much.
And when I was kind of opening with my conversations and analysis over Tempo Storm, I often talked about how I feel like this tournament is going to be whether or not people play standard into Tempo Storm. And I feel like oftentimes they see that within North America, those are the type of things that they can get away with, that they can expect a traditional 1-4, that, hey, we have the kills, so they're going to back out, look for some weak side soak. And this is where these teams, especially as we make it to the upper parts of the bracket, are just never going to give that over to Tempo Storm. And great punishment from Zealots, but there's still some work to be done here. Punisher looking to secure the top 4.
Looking to secure that top 4. The polybomb going out, and the throw in by Mopsio. Are you kidding me, Dreadnought?
It's just Mopsio on Garrosh. That's what happens. ADRD's under a bit of pressure. He's going to go ahead and use the portal in, portal out. Fan coming on the back line.
Oh my God. That was insane. I don't know if you... That was way too quick what just happened there. The Protector is unleashing hell right now on Tempo Storm. But that play that just happened by Mopsio, Fan gets the kill on the backside. We'll address that in a second as Glaurung running for his life, unable to make it. Mopsio is going to be like Dreadnought. What I just saw happen was Mopsio go through the portal, hit the taunt onto Malfurion, go back through the portal, and poor little Malfurion had to waddle his way over to the position of Garrosh where Mopsio is like, come here, let's go. And then June was killed. That is an insane play.
It's essentially using the two synergies between the portal and the taunt to make it a mind control. You know,
yes!
Teleport in, drag you right on through. Sorry, Malfurion, no opportunity to use the ice block. Very creative use here for Zealots.
What Mopsio managed to do in the span of 15 seconds is absolutely insane what we just saw there.
I mean, at this point, it shows why Zealots is, you know, we heard the analyst desk talking about kind of referring to old school roll 20, if you will, and how they kind of have their compositions that they're going to be able to pick up. They're going to stick to the comfort heroes, and that is what they're going to play. And I feel like that very much shows why. You know, we knew the Medivh Diablo of old of roll 20. Here, the Garrosh Medivh synergy. It's just when you're that good at your heroes and your comfort picks, sometimes it's too problematic for even, you know, the most meta of compositions to handle.
Let's look at Animal. What you gonna do about it? Go on. What you gonna do about it? But either way, we see this. It's Tempo Storm. They're down a level. They're down in kills. They're down a little bit in structures, but they are by no means out of this. They'll find their way. You know, we were having a little bit of a talk on Tyrael and the pickup Law and Order versus Holy Ground. Where are we going to see that? We're also seeing the return of Herodric Forging at level 16, getting that cooldown reduction. But wait a minute. Root's going to be there to make sure there's no assault, but the playmaking potential is definitely there for Tempo.
I do like the fact that we see the Herodric Forging pick up because it's forcing fights and being more problematic around the portals as well. There's a lot of different tools to see out of this build, and it's not one that's been the mainstay, if you will, for the Tyrael at this tournament. And I like that with this composition, which is, again, kind of an older one, if you will. It feels very kind of dated. I feel like it helps out a lot because the initiation to enable Arthas to be overly problematic really kind of gets out of proportion whenever you get the Holy Ground.
You know, I'm keeping an eye on some stacks here. Tychus, going into the rhythm at level 4, has now stacked up an additional 3.6 seconds on his minigun, meaning that he can just continue to rip through that health pool of Garrosh, which suffers against percentage damage. We also see Titan Grenade picked up, which will give you 5% of that health pool when that hits. And so that's kind of trying to deal with this Garrosh on the front line, which has been difficult so far because it's backed up by a Stukov, as Shad has just been making the plays around them.
Blaze has displayed himself on bottom, so Tempo Storm is feeling pretty confident that they're going to be able to pick this up. Zealot's not wanting to poke around whatsoever. But the 20 is eking in 20 seconds until we see the bottom objective end up spawning here. The bottom 4, it's very easy to get converted over to Zealots. It's very realistic that they are going to get 20. Yes, but Tychus choked down. There's a portal. Shad not able to hit the combo there.
Close.
But if it hit, that was for sure going to be a kill. But the real thing here, the real problem, if you will, for Tempo Storm is the fact that it's unrealistic for them to get a 20 talent here over this objective that's going to be forcing a Protector over. And late game Protectors, late game composition with 20 advantage, and how these fights have been going against Tempo Storm, I'm getting pretty scared here.
And right now, what we're actually seeing, Medivh is doing the scouting in the top right, and this is where teams that are down, they recognize 20 talent here is too much. That bottom 4 is so low, so what you'll see some teams do, the Tempo Storm, you see teams kind of push with that camp up at the top, try and get some structure value in that top lane to get closer to 20 so you can defend, but other teams will counter push in that bottom lane, and since we're talking about top-bottom, it is a difficult task. Zealous can easily go in, take that fort if they want, and then open up the keep wall to empower the next Protector. Medivh has been scouting them out, looking for that opportunity and keeping Tempo Storm honest.
This is exactly where we see the transition, and it's just how much damage and effectiveness are we going to see from Zealots here. Tempo Storm know that this should be a 5 versus 4, and remember the last time that we saw, you know, this exact same opposite position happen? What did Zealots not do? Give over everything at the same time. I can't help but feel like I wish I could see the same from Tempo Storm, looking for the side soak. That is unrealistic, and this is debatably the difference between a U and an A.
Well, Genji's up at the top right now. Tyrael's middle. They're trying to get 20, but Zealots did what they needed to do. They softened up this bottom lane. They have the Protector now, Dread. They're going to be looking for a keep, but the strength of this Protector, if you get that pick, you get that polybomb set up, you get that root, this could be a dangerous spot for Tempo Storm and maybe an opportunity for Zealots to close it out.
The root is not going to be available, at least right now.
He's in the Protector.
Stukov's going to move into the Protector. Moves up to the bottom keep. Portal is laid. We're yet to have Blaze join in here as he's still displaying himself. 75% remaining onto this Protector. Now Blaze looking to join in. Tyrael's actually looking for a full back, not going to get a collapse fight. Tempo Storm does get themselves 20 talent here as the keep falls.
They're going to get that. Some already used Odin before level 20. No big red button. He did use the full duration of his minigun, which is why the health of that Protector fell so fast. So Tempo Storm manages to hold. They only lose 1 keep so far. I feel like that's pretty much best case scenario for Tempo Storm outside of just taking some wild team fight. But in terms of defense, that keep was all but gone. I think they held well, didn't risk anything in the process.
Over the next couple of seconds, Tempo Storm has to find, not a couple of seconds, but once this Protector goes down, they have to find what team fight they can reliably get. They have the catapult pressure dealing with bottom.
I just love that. I'm sorry. I get so excited. It's just the small things, right? It's like you can't do much more. Most teams just, if you're playing casually, you're just walking away. But what they did is they took that well. Actually, they're looking to take a little bit more.
That's a sanctification.
Oh my.
Cattle goes in. That's 100 seconds where Zealots now have a huge advantage. They're going to get extremely aggressive knowing that cooldown is down. Howling Blast deters any more aggression.
I mean, Zealots was literally like, look, we're taking the well down because the next control point's going to be middle, so we're just trying to take away small little things that will, you know, give us more of an advantage at this point. Tempo Storm, I feel like they panicked a little bit there, but it's almost justifiably so.
With that, with the cooldown being down now, with the Sanctification, I immediately go Zealots. I paint the map blue. Get absolutely everything that you can. Try and even force a fight if that's going to be the case. You see them backing out, looking to steal away from Tempo for now. Maybe focus towards that top objective, but I guess a bit of fear existing because, you know, Holy Ground is still something to be afraid of, but I just want to see Zealots try and get a little bit more aggressive during this window. Sanctification was my biggest crux when seeing this composition pick out of Tempo Storm and seeing that synergy, and this is one of those moments where it feels like a bit too slow, or at least just ways to be able to poke out, even if it means just keeping aggro on top while somebody has to respond to those catapults down below. But here we see now finally the rotation from Zealots. Tempo Storm doesn't look like they want to give it up for free.
He's got the Holy Ground. He's like, he doesn't have to use that. He goes through, they pick it up. Pick up for Tempo Storm. Yeah, the catapults are a little bit amassing in the bottom lane. It's no big deal right now because they can deal with that before the next control point. But Dreadnought, we're looking at 20 tier now on the side of Tempo Storm. Dragon becomes me, big upgrade. Going to Legion for Arthas, trying to make sure and survive. The big Astral Communion, big red button alone is terrifying. And then, of course, Holy Arena. Tempo Storm has a lot of tools to really take a team fight in the later part of this game.
They really do. That's a great point that you bring up because the biggest thing, one for me, has got to be the Holy Arena. If it gains value, I mean, Sanctification is amazing on its own, but if you actually get the Holy Arena to go through, you kind of begin to wonder, you know, how is this character a thing? Because that is how insanely, you know, enabling he can become for the rest of his team. And when you add the Tychus Odin on top of that, like some of the heroes on the side of Tempo Storm, things get really difficult for Zealots. But they've done way too good of a job for really the entire game between the Medivh and the Garrosh of zoning and controlling territory that I don't know if Tempo Storm's ever going to get that opportunity.
The thing is that they don't need one opportunity, Dreadnought. They're going to need multiple because even if you get a Protector, it's going to have to be super late game to, one, you're probably using your heroics to get the team fight down. And then if you get the Protector, you still have to go through a keep. You still have to potentially go through multiple structures depending on where you're at. So Tempo Storm, they've got to do a lot with whatever they get, whatever they can obtain. And right now, they're going to have to clear out the camp on the top. They've got to be careful on the bottom. Play safe. Even if you give up an early part of the control point, you still have the moment to re-engage. This is Tempo Storm's chance to get back into this game.
And the biggest thing I want to focus on over this next objective is going to be all about ADRD and his Polybomb. With having Glyph of Polybomb, when they move in to this and try and get the Holy Arena, if that is time proper and Tempo Storm is stacked, you can say goodnight, Tempo Storm.
It's going to be rough. We'll see. You can see Mopsio lurking there. Mopsio looking for an opportunity. He's already pinging. Fan's got to be really careful with his position. He thinks he's the one hiding, but Mopsio is there. Mopsio comes out. He gets the stun. They get the bluff. There's the taunt. Down goes Fan. Perfect execution by Mopsio.
Golem is trying to turn it around, though. He's going to get rooted. A nice lurking arm coming out from Shad. Bunker is going to be dropped Force of Will onto Chris Cattle. Trying to get the retreat. Sanctification is available. It's going to be used. Holy Arena. Twilight Dream goes in, but there's the bunker.
They hop right into the bunker, and Chris dips out on the other side. He's in a bad position still. But now they're going. There's the taunt again. As long as you get the kill under the taunt, you get the reset. You get the cooldown. Glaurung and team are walking away, but that's going to be Cattle and team going down. All 5 members of Tempo Storm going down. And shout outs to Mopsio for starting all of that by lurking in that bush. Dreadnought, this late in the game, you gotta check the bush, man.
Yeah, I very much agree with you. Somebody has to be looking for that, trying to be able to stop the anchor, especially when you're the team responding to the objective. We knew that Zealots would have a positional advantage. Medivh constantly hovering, scouting the remainder of Tempo Storm if they make the transition. Mopsio clutches it out. The rest of the team dominating that team fight. And a very well fought game 1 here for Zealots.
Something is in this Polish water because Zealots has come out on fire today. I mean, we're talking double-digit kills throughout multiple games now. And they're not just winning these games, they are dominating these games. I don't know, you know, if they finally got some sleep, you know, what happened. I mean, maybe it was all the pre-breakfast conversations we've had. You know, it just seems like they're talking themselves in to being the superior team. And it seems like they're exuding that right now.
It's amazing, honestly. For me, just when I look at, you know, I feel like I've seen quite a bit of Heroes of the Storm. I feel like that's a fair statement. And I don't know if I've ever seen a team other than maybe Roll20, but I feel like when Roll20 went against Europe and other regions where they would suddenly hit that wall of like, okay, your stuff doesn't necessarily hold up at this level. But the lack of pressure out of Zealots and the success with some of the unique strategies that they have, you're suddenly looking at this going like, can even Dig handle this? And we saw,
week 5.
We saw, I was going to say, week 5, the answer was a flat no.
I mean, so far, Zealots right now, the Cinderella story continues. They were 15-15. They were a 500 team coming in to the Clash here, and they've now made it through to Championship Sunday. They're in the lower bracket finals, looking to make the grand finals. The Cinderella story right now is very much in effect as they take a 1-0 lead here against Tempo.
Yeah, it was a really awesome game, and the story still is going to continue, but first, we need to throw it over to our panel and hear their thoughts about Volskaya.
Well, if Zealots are a Cinderella story, Kaldar, I feel like the shoe fits for Zealots. They have figured their drafting out, and they look strong.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I think a lot, again, is because they play here on home turf with ADRD and Mopsio being from Poland. So it works really well for them. Both of them are highly motivated, and it shows in their play. From game to game, they get better. They learn from the previous series, and they just had a fantastic showing on map 1.
Vandy, Tempo Storm started that game out strong, sort of like the Cursed Hollow game versus Team Dignitas. Where did things start to go out of control, in your opinion?
I see when I look at Zealots playing this, they're using the same tactic roughly every time. And it really centers around that Blaze. I was just saying, we might start to see some Blaze bans starting to come out. What they do is they've always got that Blaze opposite to where they're trying to rotate. It's that classic 1-4. But what happens is it becomes even more intense on Volskaya Foundry when you get the Protector and win it. So what they do is they're playing the map, but they're also playing the objective. And they're just really utilizing the pressure that Blaze can give. He's just, as I said, you waste time when you're trying to gank him. He's got a lot of sustain. And then when he's needed, they just ask for the rotation. So I see it time and time again. And Tempo Storm, they held on, definitely yes, but they just didn't have an answer for that, much like other teams.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, Tempo Storm has played versus some Garroshes before, but Mopsio seemed to make quick work of them. Is that what you've got to show us?
I mean, it's actually Shad. I feel like this is the real turning point of the game. Can you pause right here?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, pause. So Arthas in the middle of the air. But what is it? Can you keep it paused? So the bold thing about this shot call, right? So for Zealots, they're down. Look at this. They are down a hero. What the? They're down a hero. So they're potentially walking into a 4v5, which is just a very bold call, right? Generally, you know, HOTS 101. Okay, you don't ever want to fight if you're down a Talontier or down a hero. But, you know, Zealots recognizing, okay, they're going to have at least 1% on the objective, and I think the Malfurion was backing. We're going to go in there and punish Tempo Storm. So start playing it slowly. Basically what happens is Mopsio gets the flip over, but watch Shad here on the Stukov. He's going to hit a 2-man root and silence, and just they instantly are able to blow up both of those heroes. Shad making a huge play, because if Shad doesn't hit that 2-man root, this slowly turns into a 5v4, right? Malfurion, Tyrael, Genji, they all rotate over, and you found yourself in a very sticky situation, and this is really where the Zealots start to snowball the game. They get that top Punisher, which allows them to get the next Talontier before Tempo Storm.
There's a couple of things about Zealots. When they formed as a team and the lineups were revealed, I looked at it and was just like, ADRD and Mopsio on the same team, that's never going to work. But they really found their flow, they found their synergy, and I feel at this tournament, every one of the members in this setup plays on their best level. Chris was always the guy that was extremely safe in the background, but once he committed to it, he got his kill, he got his damage. He usually waits until there's an opportunity. And here these opportunities are created by Mopsio playing probably the best tournament that they had so far. You go a year back and you see Mopsio being a big liability for his teams. Now he's the guy who makes the plays at the start. The taunt that we saw several times with Garrosh alone won them the game in the end when he was able to get on Genji, for example.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying, is they look a lot like, for me, last year, Roll20, in how they have so many different powerful picks. It's just enough for each person that they can rotate in, and nobody really gets countered in the draft. It's making things difficult for Tempo Storm, and they did have to play versus Zealots on Volskaya Foundry, which is of Zealots' choice. But we'll see now if Tempo Storm continues with the trend of first picks, as they did versus Team Dignitas, or if they switch something up. You know, Mike, I looked at that replay and I saw almost all the heroic cooldowns used to get that 1 kill on Zealots, and then Tempo Storm splitting on both the control point and the camp. So these kinds of mistakes just can't be made at this point, right? Like getting caught out from that, away from each other, and especially when you can blow people up like they can.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't even think it was that greedy coming out from the Tempo Storm. I mean, obviously they were punished, so it was a little too greedy, but if Stukov's route is not reliable, right? That is the skill shot that generally is not consistently hit.
Right.
But Shad has shown in this tournament that he consistently hits it on not just one hero, but 2 heroes. Because if he doesn't hit that route, both those heroes are fine. They back up. Tyrael, Gedge are able to flank from the left side. Malfurion comes in, and that's a 5v4. You know, Zealots is in a really rough spot.
True.
So like that's my thing is like, at first I watched it and I was like, did Tempo overextend? But I actually really don't think it was. I think so much of that was Shad hitting that 2-man route.
Well, Shad has shown this entire tournament, Vandy, and as we go to Sky Temple, do you expect that if Stukov is available again to Shad, that Zealots will be willing to draft it?
I 100% think that he will, but I mean, you and I were discussing, and I was like, I feel like they really need to focus on that Blaze, ban him out, because a lot of the plays, and we've also seen with Zealots, they're constantly prioritizing either first picking or even in their just first round of picks, they want that Blaze